In this lecture, the learning objective will be that we'll try to learn the estimation of distance of smoothbore weapon from the victim. And various methods and techniques have been used. We'll try to learn them. Then we'll also learn the exit wounds of the rifled weapon and smoothbore weapon. Then we'll learn the variations in the exit wound. That may be because of the tumbled bullets, because of the deformed bullets, because of the fragmentation of the bullets, and also another characteristic phenomena shown by the rifled bullet, the shored exit wound. We'll learn that what shored exit wound is. Then we'll also learn the differences in entry wound and exit wound of rifled weapon. And in this lecture, we'll also try to learn that if a bullet is recovered from a specific scene of crime, and how can we determine the weapon? Because every weapon engraves a characteristics, land and grooves, marks on the bullet, which helps in its identification. So we'll try to learn how we can do it. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So about the determination of the distance of fire in the smoothbore weapon, it is the characteristics which determine the distance of fire. In distant fire wounds where there is no burning, blackening, singeing, or clubbing of singeing of hairs and tattooing effect, the distance is determined by various methods. And these are either the test shots, that with the repeated test shots, when you gain the similar pattern of dispersion as found in the scene of crime, then this helps in determining the range. That means if the actual weapon and the same brand of ammunition is recovered, series of test shots is performed to produce the similar pattern of injury as on the body. And this thing should be kept in mind, that different brands of ammunition produce different pattern at the same range. This can also be from the dispersion of the shots. As in distant shot, the pellets start dispersing, and the distance between two most distant shots on the body is measured. And the distance in inches is roughly equal to distance in yards. So two farthest pellets on the body, the distance in them in inches is roughly equal to distance in yards. This is a pictorial diagram. You can see the pattern of dispersion at different ranges. At few inches, the charge is entering en bloc, and up to 1 yard even, it remains en bloc. And at 3 yards, they start dispersing. And this dispersion is measured two farthest pellets. The rightmost diagram showing the holes, the distant pellets are 10 inches apart. So the distance between the victim and the weapon will be roughly 10 yards. Now about the exit wounds of firearms. In the rifled weapon, sometimes the bullet do not exit and remain lodged in the body. Whereas the typical exit wound of rifled weapon look like a lacerated wound with everted margins. And the exit wound gives a large and more ragged appearance than the entry wound normally. The exit wound may be free from soiling components as found on the entry side. That means burning, blackening, and tattooing at the exit side will not be there. And the shape may also be variable. Slit-like, stellar shape, cruciate shape, irregular, and gaping. These are two exit holes, and this is a typical entry wound shown, circular, lacerated wound with collar of abrasion. So this is the entry wound, and you can see that on exit wound there is no collar of abrasion, only the lacerated wound with everted margins. Then something about variation in the exit wound. If the bullet is deformed during the passage within the body or sometimes outside the body, it may be deformed and the exit wound produced will be irregular shape. It may not be circular, oval, lacerated, but irregular shape because of the deformed bullet. Then the bullet may tumble. This means the turning end to end. That is, base is facing forward and the bullet try to exit from its base facing forward. And it again will form irregular shaped wound. Then the bullet may be fragmented by the passage within the hard material like the bone. The jacket may be removed. As the bullets are jacketed, the jacket may be removed or the bullet itself may be fragmented. So there will be then multiple holes visible. Then the secondary missile may be formed. That means when the bullet strikes the bony fragment also gets energized. They starts traveling with the same speed of the bullet and they sometimes will be exiting with the bullet and making multiple exit wounds. So multiple exit wounds can be because of the secondary missiles, that is the pieces of bone or any other material. These are different fragmented pieces, the gellet, the jacket, and the broken pieces of the bullet. This is again a radiograph showing when the bullet is passing through the vertebra, the jacket is removed, and the bullet lead case is moving ahead. And in the above, you can see the metallic fragments, that is the bullet has been broken into multiple fragments. And this is another picture showing that bullet is lodged under the skin. That is, the velocity has been reduced and it may not exit and only making a lacerated wound with the tip of the bullet, but is remained lodged in the skin, were not exited. This is another variation. Then shored exit wound. This phenomenon is shown when the victim is lying on the floor or standing firmly against the wall, that is the hard surface, and the bullet is, when it will try to exit out, it will cause shored exit wound, because at the exit side the body is in touch and supported by the hard surface of the floor or the wall. Bullet will strike the floor or the wall, will recoil back, again move forward, and repeated to and fro movements will shore the margin. The margin of the exit wound will be shored. So this shored exit wound is when the victim is lying on the floor or standing against the hard wall, then the bullet at the point of exit will be recoil back, and this to and fro movement will cause the margin to be shored. Hence, shored exit wound will be formed. And due to hard object underneath, the bullet will not only be D-shaped, but after striking with it, will also try to enter and exit again and again. Hence, the edge will be shored. This is how it appears. The shored exit wound. You can see the abraded margin. This is not because of the rubbing as the color of abrasion at the entry site, but this is shored exit wound. Now the appearance of shotgun exit wound, that is smooth bore exit wound. Usually the pellets, if they enter into the body, they do not exit because they are not high velocity, and by passing through the body they lose their velocity and rarely exit. But if exit, there can be irregular lacerated wound with everted margins. And sometimes the pellets may be accumulated underneath the skin opposite the wound of entry. But sometimes the larger pellets having larger mass and greater velocity may exit, pass through the body and may exit. And also the distance of fire is another factor. If it is close range, velocity will be higher and the pellets may exit. But at distant firearm wounds by the smoothbore weapon, the pellet, by reduction of its mass, will not exit and will remain in the body. You can see the radiograph showing the pellets which are lodged within the body. Now the differences between the entry and the exit wound of the rifled weapon. This is sometimes important to differentiate between the entry and the exit wound. The entry wound of a rifled weapon is usually smaller except in contact fire. The projectile in exit wound lacerates the tissue and there will be margins will be everted. In entry wound, the margins will be inverted except close contact wounds. And at exit, the margins will be everted. At entry site, the collar of abrasion will be there. Collar of abrasion is formed because of rotational and indenting rubbing of the bullet. When the bullet try to enter, it indents and rotates and will form the collar of abrasion. Whereas at the exit side, the collar of abrasion will not be there. And sometimes when the person is facing against the hard wall or floor, the shored exit wound, it appears as a collar, but that is not because of the rubbing color of abrasion. It is shored margin, not the color of abrasion. Then the grease or dirt color can be seen on the anti side, whereas it is absent on exit wound. At anti side, in close range, the burning, blackening, tattooing, and singeing of hair will be seen on the anti side, whereas at the exit, these characters are absent. The clothes at the anti side may be burned, tattooed, and dragged into the crack, but these findings are absent on the exit wound. The lead ring will be present on the anti side. The lead ring is because of the rubbing of the lead bullet and the shaving of the bullets which soil the surface. It will be absent in exit wound. And if we differentiate between the carboxyhemoglobin at the anti side, the tissues will be bright pink due to carboxyhemoglobin, and concentration at the anti side will be higher than the exit side. Then if the bullet is passing through the flat wall, a characteristic bevelling phenomena will be shown. We'll be discussing this phenomena in the upcoming lectures, but the anti side will be showing bevelling inward and the exit side will be showing bevelling outwards. Now, sometimes if we recover the weapon and the bullet from the crime scene and we want to confirm that this bullet was fired from the same weapon, every rifled weapon has its characteristics. The lands and grooves, they mark an imprint on the bullet. So the lands and grooves on the rifling, they make an impression on the lead bullets. And if we find the weapon and the bullet, we test fire and compare the test fire bullet with the bullet which is recovered from the crime scene with the help of comparison microscope. And if the weapon is the same pattern and identical mark of the land and groove will be seen on the bullet, and it will confirm that the bullet has been fired from the same weapon which is recovered from the crime scene. And each weapon has its unique identity. Even though made from the same factory, each weapon will show its own characteristics marks, which will make its identity. You can see the engraved marks by the lands on the bullets. The two bullets are compared and it show identical marks. So the summary about this lecture is that we have discussed the smoothbore weapon distance, firearm exit wounds of both the rifled and the smoothbore weapons, and variation the exit wound made by the deformed bullet, tumbled bullets, or fragmentation of the bullets, or secondary missiles. And we discussed about the shored exit wounds and the differences of the entry and exit wound were discussed in this lecture. And identification of the rifled weapon by the marks of the land and grooves on the bullet, which confirms the identity of the weapon. Thank you very much. Take care and Allah.